Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode number 325, entitled Kirby Air Rides Again. And we'll be covering not only Kirby Air Rides Direct number 2 from Sakurai, but a bunch of other things like Nintendo's financial report, a couple other showcases, just a whole lot going on in the gaming industry. And my name is Barry. I'm joined today by Greg. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing well.
As you can see, Steve is not here. Where is Steve? Steve is on work related trips, and we do miss Steve. And if you're in the chat, say hi, Steve. Hopefully, he is watching or he'll watch this afterwards. But hopefully, he's having a great time. You are missed, and hopefully, this time we don't give you more work to do, but we shall see. So, if you're first time here, and maybe you've been here before and you enjoy our podcast, please make sure to subscribe on YouTube or on any of the other podcast apps. We really do appreciate. If it's your first time, welcome, and if it's not, welcome back. You could also find us on social media at NintendoFuse all over, as well as our Discord. The links to all of that is in the YouTube description, as well as the podcast show notes. So come on, join the conversation and have some fun after the podcast. We do want to do a quick reminder. Our annual Game of the Year episode is coming up very soon, December 2nd, which is crazy because I've already started thinking about my stuff and I was like, oh my God. So if you've never seen our Game of the Year episodes, those are always a blast. We like to highlight our favorite games of the year, and we want to hear your favorite games of the year too. So start thinking about your picks. We're going to announce our categories that we're going to be choosing from, and we want to hear what you have to say. So just think about that. Less than a month away from the end of the year's Game of the Year podcast. Wow. But we always like to start these things off with what we've been playing. So I'll quickly throw it off to Steve because he's out of town, but he has been playing Pokemon Legends ZA. So I will mention that. I don't know how he's enjoying it or how much time he's played into it, but he has played that according to his thing. So, Greg, why don't you talk to us about what you've been up to?
Well, unfortunately, this is a much shorter list. I've been way too into the Roblox scene trying to get items from some events from my two favorite games, both the Adopt Me game and Dandy's World. Both games had like really like month-long events to get some Halloween related items. So that has unfortunately taken a lot more of my time like grinding pointless currencies just for some digital pixels and some like ongoing games. Um unfortunately that grabbed pretty much just about all my time, but thankfully that those are either now just ending or will be ending very soon in the next like few days here that I should be able to be jumping into the Switch 2 games, which I would love to dive into the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remake, along with some of the game chat games that we have upcoming. The Adopt Me game had their a month-long Halloween event where you could get like some ghost cats and some flamingos and other cool type Halloween like themed pets that they created. Some of them are based on either real animals, and others are just more like a Halloween edition version of it, like a whatever. It's like a cat, but it's like a ghost, so it has like a sheet cloth, almost like it's like a costume over it. And pretty much when you make it more like advanced and leveled up, then it gets like a neon glow to it. And it's like a pure neon white to really stick out at like at the nighttime during the game time. So it's really fun to see and make all those types of advancements on the different pets and stuff you get throughout the event. For the Dandy's World thing, they've been doing some new holiday tunes. There's the main Gordy event ongoing now, and he's been featured in a couple of the days as the Twisted of the Day to locate any research on him throughout the various maps or runs that you may go on with other players or by yourself. And basically, when you get the 100% research on his Twisted Evil version, then you get to have the chance, opportunity to buy his regular version to use in your own runs going forward. I've been pretty much trying to focus getting those unlocked because it's pretty much just random RNG chance to get, along with earning the currency to purchase other items like the different holiday skins and themed costumes for the other existing tunes in the game. So I've been very heavily focused getting both my account ready and also trying to help out with my daughter's account that she's very obsessed with and was almost thinking that she would miss out on some of these things because it was a slow start initially, but now we're getting to the point where she's almost got everything that she wants right before it ends here in the next like week or so. And then still on the mobile side, I am playing the Cookie Run Kingdom and continue to go through those summoning events and everything that they have ongoing. There's not really any holiday stuff really to mention there, just pretty much just routine login stuff as they release a few more chapters into the story mode, which have been very interesting and I've been following it pretty closely. And it's pretty much one of my favorite stories I've seen in a mobile game thus far. And that's pretty high praise because some of them are pretty lackluster, like Fire Emblem Heroes, where it was kind of laughably dumb, where it's just like, oh, I guess I'll go here and do this, and like it's kind of very silly how simple that story is. Where this one feels like it could be like an actual RPG on a console game, like level of story, where there's twists and turns that you don't even think are very predictable and easy tropes to follow. But that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Yeah, I noticed you haven't been on the Switch lately. I was like, Greg's still offline. Is he okay?
Yeah,
That
still
Roblox,
okay, but yeah,
it's got you on the hold.
yeah, I know it's an easy sucker thing to get into. You think you can be on for just like 5-10 minutes, but then like 5-10 minutes turns into like whatever 4 hours, and then it's like, well, crap, now I can't don't have any time for Switch.
Well, unlike you, I have not done any Roblox yet. I'm sure my kid will eventually get into it. But on the Switch side, I'm still playing my Pokemon Unite and Asphalt Legend Unite daily. And then I played a bunch of games for game chats, some of which have already been recorded, so they will hopefully be going live here soon. That includes Star Hunter DX, which is a bullet hell horizontal shmup, Space Moth Lunar Edition, which is a bullet hell vertical shmup, and the Angry Video Game Nerd 8-bit, which is like a Mega Man style action platformer. A game called Spindle, which is like a Zelda style game with dungeons, and you play as Death, going and collecting souls. And Tozawa Knight, Order of the Alchemists. It's a new Metroidvania that just came out, the second in the Tozawa Knight series. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So look forward to game chats for all of those. Some of them have already been recorded, and if any of them sound interesting, hopefully you enjoy the videos. On the Switch 2 side, I finished up Pokemon Legends ZA. I say finished up, but tomorrow's the new season, so I've got to go and get the Delphoxite to Mega Evolve Delphox. But I played through it. The only thing I don't have is a shiny charm. I still need to do some battles. Just been putting it off, but I've done everything else. I've completed the decks. I've done every side quest. I've done every story mission. I've got most of the decks is included, like alpha versions and stuff. Just whatever I can get. I've got multiple level 100 Pokemon. It's been a blast of a game and very much enjoyed it. And then I started Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD Remake, a game that Greg mentioned, and I have beat Dragon Quest 1 at this point. Dragon Quest 1 was always the shortest of them, but what's cool is they actually added story elements that I didn't expect. They added like little side quests and characters, and kind of like what they did with Dragon Quest 3 HD, where they added more world building to it and more to the story. They did that here, and they led into Dragon Quest 2, and a lot of references to not only Dragon Quest 3, but the new stuff they added in Dragon Quest 3, which makes sense. So I feel like this is the definitive version of Dragon Quest 1. And I had a blast doing it. It was great to go back to play, one of my first RPGs I ever played.
Yeah, that was definitely my first one that I've ever played as well, and I remember just calling always Dragon Warrior because that was
Yep.
I feel like that was a better name, but I understand that they couldn't use Dragon Quest due to a different game holding that name hostage for a little while. But um, yeah, the first one I know was very rough on the NES days, but then when I did replay, like I guess it's the mobile port that they put on Switch,
Yeah.
like there's definitely a lot of nice improvements that they did in that one. And just hearing how you're saying they added even more story elements, that has me even more excited to check it out because I really did enjoy like the game, even though like the NES version had very minimal story
Very minimal story.
because it was a lot more in the manual as that was the product of the time.
Yeah, like this one, they actually they talk more about Erdrick, and they talk even about Erdrick's father, and they show like even scenes that could have been taken right from Dragon Quest 3 or placed in that world, and I thought that was really cool. And of course, it ends setting up Dragon Quest 2, and they also give you the alternate ending, if you will, which sets up Dragon Quest Builders. So I thought that was always great to see.
Do you recommend I finish 3 before jumping into 1 then, or is there not
I
really a
mean,
good idea to just
you've
jump
already
into
played them
1?
all, so you know the story, but I mean, obviously 3 takes
Yeah,
place before 1.
it
There's no
does. Yep.
spoilers other than the fact that Erdrick saves the day and wins at the end of Dragon Quest 3, but that's not much of a spoiler. Most RPGs, the hero wins at the end of the day. The player wins. Um,
Unless you're Ocarina of Time, where there's a timeline where
yeah,
gets
well,
defeated and
there's that too. Well, there is in Dragon Quest 1. There is a timeline that leads to Dragon Quest Builders, which is not the good timeline. So there's that too. But yeah, so been doing that. I will play Dragon Quest 2, but I'm breaking them up because I ran out of time because a game I'm really interested in playing comes out in 2 days, and that's not enough time to do Dragon Quest 2 with life happening. On the PC side, still doing Final Fantasy 14, and on the mobile side, still doing Mario Kart Tour, the LinkedIn games, New York Time games, and Pokemon TCG Pocket. So if you're here in the chat, we want to hear from you. We want to know what games you've been playing. Let us know. We'll read them out. So please let us know if there's anything you've been playing. But now it's time for headlines. And Greg, as always, we're going to toss it to you to kick us off about the latest in Nintendo music.
Yeah, so we got a couple different updates over the last week, and we got a special edition due to the Halloween season here, where they just threw in some extra games. So, with on October 23rd, we got a few more Kirby Air Rider song following up with the Direct, which were the special edition things where you don't really get to, it's not the normal update for new content, much like on October 27th, where we got the soundtrack for New Super Mario Brothers. So that's great to see that those have been added there. And then finally, we have on November 3rd some Animal Crossing New Leaf playlists that have been also added as well too to join in with the Animal Crossing New Horizons that is heavily featured there as well.
And speaking of music, Zelda and Jazz 3 was released on October 30th. This is a music record from Game Chops. This is the third Zelda and Jazz record. It's 15 tracks. Return to Deco G's acclaimed chill out jazz stylings featuring intimate piano, upright bass, and mellow drums. This volume sets itself apart by focusing on recent Zelda titles, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. The track list captures unforgettable locales, characters, and narrative moments, all with a classy jazz lounge sensibility. So, if you're interested, you can stream the album on Spotify or Apple Music, listen to it on YouTube, and wherever available, you could even get the actual record for it.
So Nintendo has partnered with Laced Records to bring sweeping vinyl music of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild to fans with a collectible vinyl collaborations, and those will be arriving on June 19th of 2026. And it's a double LP with over 130 tracks, and some of them are newly or all of them are newly remastered for vinyl. There's like an 8 LP box set that mirrors the progression of the game experience and limited editions and more. You can check it out at like the My Nintendo store in New York along with San Francisco, and you can get everything as while the supplies last, along with the standard edition being available at select retailers, likely including stores like Best Buy and the other places where you find Nintendo products.
And in terms of showcases, because usually you think of showcases in the summer. Well, nope. The Indie Horror Showcase happened on October 23rd. What this was a Steam event specifically for horror games. It featured a ton of games like Sigils of Nightfall, Project Songbird, Retro Space, Beneath, In Hope, Void In, Living Hell, The Dropouts, Shadow Sacrament, and much more. All of these will be available on Steam, and some will hopefully make their way over to consoles, including the Switch 1 and the Switch 2.
So we had another showcase that was also shown, and that was the Galaxies showcase that for autumn of 2025. And so it was on also on October 23rd that this took place. It showed off many different world premieres, surprise reveals, brand new trailer for 50 different games, including Defect Crosswind and the Pacific Drive, Whispers in the Moon Woods. Most, if not all, will be available on Steam. Most mentioned specifically for Switch 1 and 2, Switch 1 and or 2 included Dumb Ways to Party, Power Wash Simulator 2, Rock Beasts, Silver Pines, and Skinwalker.
And if you thought Nintendo would say, hey, Indie Horror Showcase and Galaxy Showcase, we're not going to compete with you. Surprise! They randomly dropped something that very well could have been a mini direct for, of all games, Animal Crossing New Horizons. On October 30th, they announced a big 3.0 update as well as a Switch 2 edition coming, or both of these are coming on January 15th, 2026. So the 3.0 update, which is free for Switch and Switch 2, it features the resort hotel where you can decorate rooms for different people, much like the actual DLC. Rossetti services, Slumber Island, where you can actually create multiple, I think up to 3 new islands, and you could get together with people online, and you could all get together and mess around with those islands, as well as collaborations with Lego, Zelda, and Splatoon. All this is free. So if you've already played the game and you want to jump back in, that's a great time to do it. But let's say you never played it or you want to play it again on the Switch 2. The Switch 2 edition has all that, all the original content with improved resolutions, mouse controls, megaphone item to call the villagers using the microphone on the system, 12-player online, USB camera features, and this will be a $4.99 update if you already have the Switch 1 version, or $64.99 gets you the entire game.
All right, so the Pokemon Trading Card Pocket got an update, got several enhancements and like Mega Rising expansion packs. So you can now trade cards from the most recent expansion. You can gift cards to others. The Wonder Pick thing has also been improved to feature more cards from the latest expansion and display how many of each you already know, so you know which ones you will need. So it pretty much includes more booster packs, the more powerful Mega Evolution Pokemon EX cards, and also accessories featuring Mega Blaziken, and are also available special in-game events to celebrate the 1 year anniversary. So be sure to check out the Pokemon trading card game for the game to experience the new 1 year anniversary event and see these latest expansions.
So Matt Piscatella on Blue Sky said that Pokemon Legends EA has had a massive US launch at retail. And it has. The launch week physical unit and dollar sales for Pokemon Legends EA were the biggest for a new physical video game launch since The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom back in May of 2023. I think it's like 6 million or close to 6 million within that first week. Like it's just crazy.
All right, so Pokemon ZA or Legend ZA is getting another update in November to address some issues. So pretty much Game Freak has publicly identified some known issues for the game and will be fixing them in the November update. Pretty much the Pokemon boxes will become full before the first Rogue Mega Evolution battle, and the box's menu had not opened at any point prior to being filled. The Pokemon catch attempts will always fail. Additionally, if a side mission that allows you to receive the Pokemon is attempted under these conditions, the mission will be completed without granting the reward. So obviously that's a pretty horrible bug to experience, to not get a reward from completing a mission and also having the mission kind of glitch out too. So that's kind of an issue there. So glad to hear they'll be fixing that. And then also in certain side missions, the time of day switches between day and night. At the exact moment that a move hits a target, it will be pretty much impossible to hit the target afterward rendering the side mission incapable of being progressed further. So there's a nice game breaking bug that can sometimes rarely occur, just depending on if you get the unlucky time between day and night. So hopefully this update can come out soon and get everybody and repair any broken save files that of anyone that is unfortunately blocked from progressing.
And since our last podcast, it was a big Resident Evil event that Capcom had. And in addition to showing off a special physical version of Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9 in a nice little slipcase, and I use quotes because they're game key cards, they're not really physicals. They did show off a brand new custom Switch 2 Pro controller, and this controller features a gunmetal black design with in world newspaper articles that capture the dark and immersive atmosphere of the game. You can order it on Nintendo's online store. It is $100. On top of that, out of nowhere, there's a Resident Evil amiibo coming. Grace Ashcroft from the latest Resident Evil 9 is getting her own amiibo, and that will be available for purchase soon, and they will come out in spring of 2026.
Um, Every game guru, also known as Jesse Keeklin, was caught playing pirated copies of Nintendo's games before their official release. And then I guess he had also taunted Nintendo's lawyers like you might run a corporation, but I run the street. And the court apparently ordered him to pay $17,500 in damages. And pretty much Nintendo demands to destroy all devices that made it clear that how he was attempting to acquire games before their street date and everything like that. Um, so I guess that's unfortunate that he has to pay Nintendo damages, but he also was breaking the law and accessing the game before its official release.
And to celebrate the Super Mario Bros. 40th anniversary, a brand new Mario balloon will be featured in the 2025 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. That's happening on November 27th. The balloon was created by the Macy's Parade Studio in partnership with Nintendo of America. Measures 51 feet 2 inches long, 37 feet wide, and 43 feet 8 inches tall. Mario's look is inspired by his look in Super Mario Galaxy. No surprise there.
In spite of the game being discontinued and no longer available to purchase on the eShop as of March 2021, Nintendo released an update that simply says several issues have been addressed to improve gameplay on Switch 2, and this was more in line with Super Mario 3D All-Stars getting a new version update. So, yeah, that's kind of a weird issue to see, even though like you might have already had the game, but glad to see, I guess, that it's got an update to get that small issue resolved.
And finally, Monster Hunter Stories 3 Amiibo, which were hinted at, announced earlier in the year. They're available for pre order now. They appear to be GameStop exclusive, so you can go to GameStop.com right now and order them. There are three of them. There's the Rudy Amiibo, the Ratha Amiibo, and the Ratha V Amiibo. So if you're an Amiibo hunter, make sure to grab them. So, Greg, that's a lot of headlines. So we just went through. Uh, Anything you want to follow up on or discuss in that long list?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's tons of stuff, but hopefully I won't have to talk nearly as long as I did with all the headlines. So, everyone knows I'm an avid fan of the Nintendo Music app, but I haven't had a chance to really take a look through these specific songs yet. So hopefully I'll find some to add to my playlist that I created. Pretty much in terms of the jazz stuff and other music like the record stuff that we talked about at the top. I mean, it's really cool that this stuff is being there. I don't know at this point if it's something I would order or want to get for any collection purposes, but I guess I'll have to take a look to listen to both of those and see how those turn out. I don't really have any way to play vinyl records, but I guess if I did do the Breath of the Wild one, it would just be just something to display behind me. But I don't know. I guess I have to kind of see pricing and all that kind of information. I did miss the both of the showcases that we talked about, so I have some more catching up to do on to see if there's any games that I might to check out or to purchase there. I did see the Animal Crossing update. I was kind of surprised, but also not surprised. But I guess surprised that like that it actually was announced, and I understand like with all the stuff with beat 'em ups and trying to fake a new Animal Crossing game, it kind of makes sense that like they're actually able to make a Switch 2 edition to get that one up to speed. So that's kind of where it's like a surprise, not surprise, because that kind of ruined it the way he lied and we're told like a new game coming. But I'm just glad to see that it's getting the love to get a Switch 2 edition and make all those nice improvements for everything there. I probably do have to check it out because I do like the Legend of Zelda, and a lot of that stuff looks really cool to see in the game. I don't know if it'll really entwine me to play every day for a while, but at least might want to get some of those things once those are out. Probably have noticed I haven't really played the Pokemon trading card game in quite some time, so it's just glad to see that fans that are still playing it are getting some new content. So happy for them there. I also haven't really played the Pokemon Legends ZA, so it's glad to see that they're getting some actual patches to fix some broken issues, along with um, having like a really great physical launch. That's great to see there because I know a lot of people are kind of unhappy with the game key card situation. So it's glad to see that the physical stuff is actually getting good results there to show that there's still a love for the physical form of games. I've never been a huge Resident Evil fan, but great to see that anyone that is interested in getting a special controller or amiibo, that they'll be able to get stuff to show off their love for the series and everything. So it's great to see that they're had some partners there. Um, I think we had talked about the game Guru like almost like a year ago, but I don't know if we reported on like the after effect. So I guess it's all summed up and already ready to go, like was finished. So obviously don't mess with Nintendo, especially if you're actively stealing their information or doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Um, Seeing Mario join the parade is a pretty cool thing there too. It's kind of like we reported with like, the Pokemon getting a special museum exhibit in Chicago at some point next year. So glad to see that there's some more love, especially for the upcoming movie with Super Mario Galaxy. So as you said, it's not really a big surprise why they picked that inspired look for it because it's obviously almost like a promo for the movie as well. And then it's great to see that they're also Nintendo's also fixing bugs with Super Mario 3D All-Stars. And yeah, and if you're interested in the Monster Hunter amiibo stuff along with the Resident Evil ones, you can be sure to check those out, and happy for those that are looking for those amiibos to for their amiibo collections where that doesn't really impact me as I've only done really Smash and Zelda, but still happy for those that are fans of the series.
All right. And before I give my thoughts, I'm just going to go to the chat quickly. Switch After Dark says, "Hey, what's good, guys?" And he's hoping for a Heartworm on Switch. Also, we're getting an uninvited sequel at some point, which is cool. A Heartworm is a very like PS1 style retro horror game. And fun fact, I actually met the developer. They were actually stationed across from me at Retro World back in 2022, Retro World in Connecticut, and I got to talk with them quite a bit. And the really cool guy, and I got to see the game early, so I'm glad to see it getting some recognition. And Jerome joined us, so hi Jerome. He says hi and put a bunch of different emotes and waves. So it's always good to see friendly faces and friendly waves. So if you guys weren't here for the beginning, you want to say what games you're playing, we'll read them out. And of course, if you guys want to weigh in on any of the highlights that we just talked about, as well as the upcoming discussion, please feel free to let us know your thoughts. For me, going through the top, I'm gonna go through this quickly. Nintendo Music, I'm still not really using it, but I love to see new stuff. I love when people take video game music and put their own spin on it with the jazz. I think that's cool, but I'm not getting any records. I don't have a vinyl player, and I just don't have room. I just really don't at this point. I did not get a chance, like you, Greg, to see the indie horror showcase or the Galaxy showcase, but I've loved that there's all these outlets for devs because there's so many devs and they just need these outlets and attention. And I'm glad that we, even though we didn't see it, can give a little attention to them as well. Animal Crossing update surprised me. I did not expect such a large update, especially for free. I know a lot of people are saying, "Well, guess no Animal Crossing, on the Switch too," and I disagree. I think there's an Animal Crossing coming to the Switch too. I think it might be a little bit later because of this. I also feel like this might have been an update planned for earlier. on the Switch 1 and they purposely delayed it because of the Switch 2 and figured, oh, we'll do it in a lull. So it's great to see though. It's such a great game and helps so many people out. A lot of people I see it online are joking that Nintendo's going to manufacture a new virus for January just to capitalize on Animal Crossing sales. I still play Pokemon TCG Pocket every day. I love it. So I've been enjoying the Mega Rising expansion and all the first anniversary stuff and all these improvements that they've done with like telling you what cards you have and what cards you don't, and the gift system and the Wonder Picks. All been great. So keep it up. I love it. I didn't know that ZA needed those updates. I never had those issues, but I'm glad that they're fixed. And I love that ZA got such a good sales, like it's such a big launch. Yes, I know if you're out there like, oh, but ZA doesn't look the best, and oh, Balcony Gate. Yes, yes, absolutely. You're right. It could look a lot better. Game Freak should put in a little more money, 1000%. But the game is fun and enjoyable, and I'm having a blast. My wife's having a blast. So you know what? At the end of the day, I care more about gameplay and fun than I do about graphics. Plain and simple. Resident Evil, I think it's cool that they're getting a custom Switch 2 Pro controller. I'm not getting it, but I will be getting the Grace Ashcroft amiibo. I will not be getting the games. Again, A, key card, and B, I haven't played a Resident Evil since 5, and I'm not a big fan of the first person, so that doesn't help me there. Every game guru, I think the 17,500 in damages is like nothing. Like it really is nothing. He'll probably make more than that in a video, even just talking about this. And it seems a lot of people want to support people pirating and stuff like that. I don't know. I, hopefully it prevents them from continuing, but you never know. People will do what they're gonna do. Mario joining the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is really cool. I think it'll be fun to see Mario out there and hear what they say. Like the commentators, what are they going to talk about? The 40th anniversary? Are they going to mention the movie, the games? What are they going to talk about? 3D All Stars being updated to me is just hilarious. Like, just put the game back on the digital storefront at this point. Like, just do it. Just do it. Stop being stupid. And Monster Hunter Stories 3 Amiibo. I already pre-ordered them. And I think it's interesting that once again they're GameStop exclusive. But yeah, I mean, I look forward to Hunter Stories 3, so look forward to using those Amiibo. So is there anything else? Nothing else in the chat. So we will now move to our main topic tonight. Oh, we got a couple things, but first let's talk about Kirby Air Riders Direct number 2. This happened on October 23rd, 2025. Oh boy. After the first Direct, I was like, how much more can this guy talk about? Apparently over an hour's worth he can still talk about. So let's go through some of the stuff he showed off. A new mode called Top Ride. This was actually from the original GameCube version, and I don't feel like they were ever intended to put it in this, and people asked for it. So Sakurai's like, okay, let's put it back in this mode, which is great. Listening to the fans. That's what more game devs should do. So Top Ride is back. It's a top-down view of the racing as opposed to behind the racer. Really cool perspective. Reminds me of Super Off Road, and glad it's there. They also announced another mode called Road Trip, which is like the story mode. You could compete in different challenges from both air ride, city trial, and top ride modes, including races, battles, and field events. The whole time you're collecting machines and items that you could use between the challenges. Uh, it's really interesting to see them put this much effort into a storyline for a racing game, but they did. So they added that. They added the paddock. This is a new way for friends to gather. It's an online like hub. People can hang around. It's like a lobby. They can jump around. They could do emotes. You could listen to music. You could see your different machines. Uh, they put this much effort. It's fantastic. There's swap relay that they talked about, which is into air ride mode. It's new ways for racers to pretty much race. Like you select a machine for each individual lap, and you will automatically swap to a different machine as you complete the lap. So like it just kind of reminds me of like a fighting game where you have to constantly swap between characters. They didn't need to put this into a racing game, but they did. Uh, and you know what? I'm actually going to stop there and let's just talk about this so much. Let's just talk about those four things, Greg. What are your thoughts on these four things?
Yeah, so this was definitely a lot to take in, as you said. There was like a flip another hour-long presentation on all of this, but it's as you said, it's really great that he's listening to the fans. That's kind of way he opened it up. He said like, oh, from the first direct that there was like, oh, what about this one mode? And then he's like, well, it's probably gonna be a lot of work, but then boom, like, he just like kind of cranked it out and like boom, there it is. Like, so it's really great, as you said, that he just listened to the fans and they could have easily just made it like DLC or something else, but no, this is gonna be part of the main game. So that's also like a point in his favor that he's just listening to the fans and can quickly get the a previous mode back into the new game. So I mean, I've never played the original game, so more content is always welcome content. So glad to see it there. So pretty much also with like the road trip mode, that's also sounds very intriguing along with the other paddock like type mode, like the arena mode that just does seem kind of typical for Sakurai because I know Smash Brothers has those alternating battles where you have to pick different fighters for whatever. It was like a 3-on-3 or whatever, 5-on-5, and then you have to do like each one with like a different character. So that's kind of cool how it kind of forces you to do with the same thing just with different machines. So because I'm sure each machine handles differently, and there's pluses and minuses to using like each different machine. So it's like some will be a little bit more lightweight and look faster and excel better. And then will also be like the heavier ones that might not take the hits nearly as well and have high top speed. So it's kind of like that balance and to try to see what kind of challenges you could do with other players with that kind of restriction. So that does sound very intriguing do there. Um, but yeah, I mean, all these modes look like a lot of fun, and I think it's pretty much this direct almost kind of somewhat solidified my decision to probably try to get the game because I was still kind of somewhat on the fence, but seeing like how much love and content is being poured into it, it kind of just made kind of pushed that over with some of these new modes and everything.
Yeah, it's wild. Like I love what he's done. Just how much he's added to this game. Like he's done this with Smash too. It's like how much can I put into a game and really just add to it and really give everybody a complete package. Like you're getting your money's worth. So then I want to go continue going down. We've got the Transform Star. They showed off a brand new machine. It's both a flying and a bike machine, which is neat. Like, cool. We just have a two in one. There's a checklist, which is from the original Kirby's Air Ride, but it also should look familiar to Smash fans, where it's a bunch of different objectives. And as you do that, you unlock stuff. What's really cool, there's five of these tabs. There's Air Ride, Top Ride, City Trial, Road Trip, and Online. He specifically stated that online tab will not have any riders or machines locked behind them, so you are not required to play online to unlock that stuff. He said that if there's a tab you want to try and do, you can immediately jump into that objective. So it's like, oh, race, this lap with this character within 20 seconds. You could just click the button on it and it'll just set you up automatically so you could do it. And you can even turn down the difficulty to make it easier on some of these so you're not like throwing your head against the wall. I love that. I love it makes it ease for you to complete this. It's something new to do and it's not gating things behind like the top tier players. Everybody can enjoy it. That's fantastic. Um the amiibo, they showcased two amiibo last time and hinted at more. Now they showcased three more amiibo, the Meta Knight and Shadow Star, the King DDD and Tank Star, and the Chef Kawasaki and the Hop Star. All these are coming next year in 2026. He even said like I didn't think they would let me do it, but here they let me make more amiibo, which is fantastic. And it's not mentioned here. Well, we'll do on so much more. Here it is. They the way Sakurai is, I love him. He's like people asked about the music of the first game from those tracks, and if we can enjoy those sounds. So we decided to add the music into the game. But we didn't just add the music. We actually took those courses from the first game and we added them too, because why not? That's all 9 courses from the first game are remade and added into this game. There's 9 courses in the new game too, so you're getting 18 total courses. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. That is the best way to do it, to just bring everything into one. They also talked about a new city trial power up called the Mega Cannon. They also talked about the stadiums, how you can play different. You could actually just go through and play the mini games at the end of like city trial. They talked about boss battles, including exclusive opponent called Robo DDD, because in the original game it was King DDD that you placed, and now King DDD is a racer. And this boss can transform between DDD mode and car mode, which is really cool. There's returning copy abilities and even more ways to collect and rebuild the legendary machines, the Dragoon and the Hydra. So, on all this, Greg, the Transform Star, the checklist, the amiibo, and all the extra stuff, what do you think?
I mean, as I said with the first half, it seemed like it was pretty it's great to have lots of content and um especially with like a checklist type thing because I feel like in some like the mobile games I play, it's they have like the checklist thing to if you're doing like a mission like or something or trying to complete something quickly, like there's like a button and then immediately will either take you to the area or load you into where you need to be. And it's great to have such a fast option just to be able to jump in. So it's not just trying to guess where it is, and you could just be like, okay, if it's use Kirby on this race, then it'll just boom, you're already Kirby and you're like ready to start the race. That's incredible. Like you don't have to like go through 15 menus to say like, oh, I have to find this specific mode. Now I have to remember I have to be Kirby. I have to use this specific like vehicle, and then like you don't have to do any of that. It just like boom, like auto, like it sounds like it should just take you right there, and you can just start actively going towards it. And even like you said with the difficulty settings, you can change those. So it's always great to see that too. So you don't have to be some like pro player just to complete some of the game's content. And that's definitely always very much appreciated because everyone has different skills and abilities. And especially for people that are new to the series like myself, it's you don't have to be a super pro just to be able to complete some of these things. So it's great to see that you can tone it down if you're having trouble, or if you even want more of a challenge, you're able to kind of tone it up. And that's kind of how a lot of gamers really should be. It should be very accessible to people of skill levels of all ranges. Like you shouldn't be penalized for not having enough skill, or you also shouldn't feel like this is way too easy and without being able to make it more of a challenge where you might like it. So options like that are always greatly appreciated and wish more games had stuff like that. In terms of like the amiibo, it's great to see that there'll be some more made. Unfortunately, I do think that these amiibo are a bit more expensive than the ones I tend to get, so I probably will be somewhat passing on it. But great to see that anyone that will be getting into it will have some more options and more combinations to use, and to have like, your little figure characters to train up, and just like you used to do with Smash Brothers and all the different characters there. So it's great to see some more on the way for people that are eager to collect and actively use them for the game. But yeah,
Yeah.
like with all the other modes and everything, it's really great. And I don't know if it was said on here, but wasn't there something also how they were like adding in some other characters and
But yeah,
that brought in
that's
like
coming down. We're not
oh it's
there
still
yet.
oh we're not there yet? Okay. I wasn't sure if that was under like the so much
Yeah.
more and like
No, that's how much there is to this. It's incredible. There's so
okay.
much. Sakurai talked for an hour, and like he was constantly talking about. But yeah, I love the checklist idea. I think that's great. The transform star looks cool. I love that Nintendo just gave him the go ahead to make more amiibo. Like whatever this man wants, just let him have it. And I thought that the added tracks. I love like when Sakurai did that with Brawl, and he had like some of the tracks come back, or in Melee, I mean, in Smash Melee, and then he did it again in Brawl. But in Melee, it was like really a big deal. Like, oh, because there's no backwards compatible, and this is no backwards compatibility to the GameCube, so it's wonderful. It's like one game you're getting like
Yep,
Kirby's Air Ride and Air Riders combo.
yep, it's like that almost like he's finally toned down to be like that ultimate edition kind of thing where like, okay, there's 9 courses, let's bring them all 9 back. You don't see Mario Kart saying like, oh, here's all of 8 Deluxe's tracks and put them all into World and like
Yeah, and I
I
feel that
understand
we
there's a
should.
lot that's a huge undertaking, but I think a lot of fans would absolutely love to see just about every single Mario Kart track in a single game. But
Yeah, I think I think we're at this stage where we should really have these games be almost like service, not services in the sense of like always online. I'm talking services as in you have this game released and the next release, it could either be a downloaded update or you could buy the game and it's like brand new content with all the old content just keeps piggybacking on it. And that's what this kind of feels like. It's brand new content with piggybacking on the majority of the old stuff. And I love that. Just keep adding on. Make more to the game.
yep,
Uh let's see. But like I said, it's not over. So we discussed some new online and multiplayer elements that will be available. The global wind power is similar to what they've done before with I think
Smash
Kid
Power, Global
Icarus,
Smash
Smash
Power.
Power. Yeah, they're doing all that stuff for those online licenses. Is your online multiplayer, you get to create your own license. Other games have done this, but they've decided to do this too. You add stickers and glitter and everything to it. Team battles, up to 16 players can play City Trial together. That's crazy. The team battles are now split up into two teams of 8. Legendary machine parts can be shared between teammates, and whoever picks up the final piece gets to ride it. When 10 or more players are competing, all players will be split into two teams of the same stadium, and teams will be compete for the high score. That's awesome. It's up to 16 people. That's crazy. This single player time attack in both air ride and top ride mode. So you can challenge yourself to the best time. There's free run in either of these modes too. Just practice your moves and set your own personal best in a pressure free environment without any opponents in your way. In City Trial, you could also use free run to explore the Skya, which is the name of the City Trial map, without any time limits or obstacles. And then expanded roster, which is what you were hinting at, Greg. The presentation also revealed a few more of these characters you'll be seeing in Kirby Air Riders, such as Taranza, as well as Lololo and La La La. Plus, more were shown off. So, about this stuff, what do you think, Greg?
Pretty much like all Wood stuff here. I mean, I don't know how much of an online player I'll be when I eventually get the game, but obviously it's really great for competition purposes to have like rankings of power and everything like that. So I have no idea where that guy would stand. It depends on how well I'm able to master all the abilities and turning and skills and everything, but still really great to see that that's there. In terms of the licensing thing, I feel like there's other things like I think even Mario Kart 8 or 8 Deluxe had some type of like license thing that you got to decorate and stylize and change like a few patterns and backgrounds and stuff. So it's kind of cool to have that little kind of customization stuff with 16 players. That's like holy cow, that's like almost up to Mario Kart Worlds 24. This sounds like a lot more hectic because you obviously have all the machines and stuff that seem a lot more a lot more things going on with that to handle it. So it's should be a pretty good time to hopefully you can get matches with all 15 other players. That would be really cool to see. And then yeah, I think most racing games always have the time attack mode for practice purposes and like time trials to kind of learn the courses and also like the best like ways to turn around some of the edges and what kind of vehicles and anything or character combinations work best on particular courses. So that makes sense to have the kind of like time attack mode or even just free roam type thing where you're able to just kind of explore the course and take it at your own pace and also try to challenge even your own best time. So that's really great to have for racing games. And yeah, the one thing that really caught my eye was like, as just about said earlier, was the extra characters. So I actually really enjoyed the Lolo games from NES, and this was blew me out of the water that he would be included in a Kirby game of all things here. So I think that's really cool to see him come to life and first like in 3D and being like a little side character in this. So I was definitely very excited to see both Lololo and La 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 being kind of brought into a game like this because I was definitely not expecting something like that. As I already know that Kirby franchise is really huge and they could have dove into other enemies and abilities, but instead they just reached out to some like lesser known, like I guess I don't know if they're third party or maybe they're second party characters or something, but at least to Hal that does a lot of the Kirby stuff, but it's really great to see that there's some other inclusions outside of like the main headlighting Kirby characters for sure. Kind of like how you see like
Um,
Sonic and Snake in Smash Brothers.
you do know that La La Lo and La 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 are actually Kirby characters, right? Like they've been around for I think the original Dreamland, the very first game, they were bosses in Castle La La Lo. If I think it was just La La Lo actually, and La 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 was a mid boss.
Yeah,
They've also
it's
been in Kirby's
that's where I
Avalanche,
yeah, I
Superstar.
mean that's been my inexperience with the Kirby franchise
Yeah,
in
Mass
general though.
Attack, Triple Deluxe, Kirby Fighter Deluxe, Blowout Blast. Like they were in the anime. Like Lolo and La 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 are original bosses along with like Kracko and Wispy Woods.
Yeah, I just remember the Adventures of Lolo and that I thought that's what it was from, but I don't even know if that's the same character or not, but
No, no, I think that's just oh well they actually did. That's really where they were. They originated from that because it was a HAL game. It was a game called Egger Land Mystery on the MSX was the original release of where they came from. And they took the characters from there and added them to Kirby at this point, and now they're Kirby. They've been Kirby characters since launch.
that's what I was saying with my lack of an experience with the Kirby franchise. I've
But
gotten
that's
a
okay.
lot, yeah, yeah, I've
In your
gotten a
head
lot more
canon.
into it. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten a lot more into it over the course of this podcast. You can hear I've never played a Kirby game, and then I really enjoyed um Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and then dove into some of the like the NES and SNES adventure games and the Game Boy games. So like
He
I'm
was reused. I mean,
yeah,
it is the same character. That's why they added the
yeah,
extra low and la. But
yeah,
that's a HAL game,
yep.
so it's not like an extra license. But they took. It's kind of like if I said the name of a character and I said what series was it created for, okay? The characters is Chain Chomp. What series?
Would obviously be more Mario Brothers, but then it was obviously in the Link's Awakening as well too.
Correct. It was created for Zelda. Chain Chomp was originally a Zelda character that actually wound up being moved to used for Mario more, but it was originally a Zelda character. So that happens sometimes between companies. But yeah, that's right. So if you remember Adventures of Lolo on the NES, the character from HAL moved to Kirby ever since the original release. And since Adventures of Lolo is dead,
Yep,
it's like a new life. But that's awesome because now it's like, you didn't know that the character came over. So you can play those characters and be like, "Hey, I'm reliving my NES days with these characters." And that's great.
yep.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm not a big online guy, but I love that they added all this for online players. I love the expanded roster. There's still more. Rick is there. I know a lot of people are happy about Rick. I love Rick, but I'm sorry. I'm a Koo guy. Koo is my favorite animal buddy. Let Koo be there too. They Kine can join. I think Kine is most people's least favorite of the three, and we're not even going to talk about the Dreamland 3 animal buddies. I don't think people really refer to them much, but give me Kine. Give me give me give me Koo. I mean, give me Koo. I want Koo. I'll take Kine as well.
I
But
mean, you
big
know
Rick
Sakurai, he doesn't reveal every single character. He likes to have
no.
those characters that are there until like the game launches, and then
Absolutely.
it's like, holy cow, this character's here. Oh, this one's here
Uh,
too.
and I don't
Like,
want to be spoiled. I've seen enough. I just want to
yep,
experience.
yep,
I love the fact that you can run around the city without a time limit, and the time trial, of course, is standard. But I think that's a great way to just run around the city and explore and get your bearings for what you're gonna need to do for a city trial. But then there's still more. Yes, there's still more miles. So you accumulate miles while you're playing. The more you play, the more you earn. You can then take this in-game currency to the Miles shop where you could acquire machines, machine decorations, license decorations, and music track. You can even acquire customizable headwear for your riders. There's the My Machine. So as you collect these machines, you can purchase parts from the Miles shop. doing checklist challenges, and add decals, accessories, patterns, and effects to turn any machine into a My Machine. You could take this My Machine to the machine market where you could list it for sale for in game currency and acquire machines designed by other players. The more your machine sells, the more expensive it gets, but you don't actually lose your machine if it sells. So it's kind of like you can see how popular it is. In addition, you could also create your own custom garage to show off your unique rides, invite friends from the paddock to come and hang too. That's really cool. Like that takes vehicle customization to a new level. Then let's throw in another currency, if you will, called gummies. There's a pretty much as you beat racers, you get gummy versions of their machines. You can fire them in the sky, hold on to them as trophies, whatever you want. How many gummies will you get? Is this needed? The answer is no. Is this totally something Sakurai would do? The answer is yes. So let's just throw that in. And then they also gave mention to composers Shogo Sakai and Noriyuki Wadar, who worked on Kirby's Air Ride and Super Smash Brothers. Uh, they added a My Music option, just like they did in Smash Ultimate, that allowed you to select what music you want to hear during the city trial when you explore Skylia, including tracks from across the Kirby game series, bonus tracks, as well as hidden tracks. And they also announced the new stuff onto Nintendo Music. Finishing up before Greg, you talk about this. Just want to go that they will have multiple announcer voices in different languages and styles, so you can choose what fits you the best. And there will be a Kirby's Air Riders test, a global test ride. This will be a demo that will be held November 8th to 9th and November 15th to 16th, exclusively on the Switch 2. During this Switch global test ride, you can check out lessons, air ride, and city trial. For air ride, the following courses will be playable: Flora Fields, Wave Flow Waters, and Mount Amber Falls. Players can also jump into a paddock in which they can create a room, invite friends to a city trial, and play others worldwide. Um, Now, the worst part about this whole thing, the only downer, comes at the very bottom, where it says those who pre-ordered the digital version of Kirby Air Riders for the Nintendo eShop will receive an in-game hat that can be worn by riders during the global test ride event. That's really cool. Like, hey, look, guys, I'm supporting the game. That hat cannot be transferred to the full game. Well, that stinks. like, I, I'm assuming this hat could be obtained in the full game, but it would be really nice as like a nice little reward. Like I pre-ordered the game and I did the test ride, but no, that hat does not transfer over. So that's the only real negative. And of course, Greg, let's finish this on all this stuff. What are your thoughts?
But yeah, as you were talking about the Miles thing, that's really great to see. It's almost kind of like the stage builder stuff that Smash Brothers has had, and you can kind of like people that are the ultra creative types have become popular. It's great to see kind of their creations, and you can check out their things. But this time it's more with the vehicles, so that's really great. I mean, that's always really fun to kind of see other people's creations, and there are very creative people that have always been on the Nintendo platforms, whether it's like Miiverse posts and other things that they've done with like artwork and stuff. It's always very incredible to see that. So it's obviously it's really great to have a feature like that here in this game. So then also like with the gummies thing, that just always sounds really more like your favorite the bane of your existence, the spirit mode, where it's like, oh, collect all these different spirits. So it's like now you get to collect all these different gummies. So I don't know if you'll go after all the gummies in this game, because if there's enough to have like a million of them, it really does sound like the spirit mode where you
Well,
have to
there's
collect
there's
so many
there's
of them.
doubles. You'll get the same
Yeah.
one multiple times in different colors.
Yeah, it just depends if it's like kind of random which color you get, and I know that you don't like hearing stuff like that because then it's like, well, I already got the blue one, I need the green one, and all the joys of trying to get the RNG to be on your side as opposed to against you. But um, yeah, I guess it really depends on how that goes, but it's still kind of really cool to have all these different things to collect and ultimately use while while you're enjoying the game. But yeah, as I covered with the music app, it was great to have they had more music added there as well. So it's really cool to have more tracks to listen to, and even using like the returning composers from Smash Brothers. All those games, the Smash Brothers series has had really great music to begin with. So it's great that they were able to kind of be brought back in for this game here. In terms of the test event, there's like a few time slots. It seemed like it should work for me to be able to check out the game, but um, hopefully I can remember to make some calendar invites or something to check it out because I would really like to know how this game plays and just being able to see experience the game would be really cool. But as you said, with like the you get having a little trophy thing that seems kind of silly to give you for a temporary demo, but then not transfer it over. So I don't know why that wouldn't be the case, but as you said, hopefully it's available to just unlock in the game once you do have it pre-ordered and have it downloaded. So, I mean, usually that's kind of like one of those badges of honor for saying, "Hey, I did this, let me keep it."
Exactly.
But I don't know why they would not have that just transfer over. That seems like it should be very easy to do.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that it's in the game naturally. But yeah, so if all this sounds exciting to you, Kirby's Air Riders will launch November 20th. So just a few short weeks away. And I think I know the answer already, Greg, but now that you've seen both of these directs, I know you weren't terribly interested to start with, but now you're going for it.
Yeah, I really think so. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect because, as I said, I didn't play the GameCube version, so I didn't really know a whole lot even about the series in general, but I think with these deep dives, and you can also see with all the love that he's put into this game, this project of his since or whatever when he kind of teased it forever ago from the YouTube series, and it's really great to see that he's really respecting the player and putting these bringing back modes and even willing to add in modes that previously existed, along with bringing back all the courses and making sure they all work with any updated like stats and abilities. So it's all the courses are able to be kind of basically brought over, and that's really great to have all the content there in one place, as we've said. So, um, seeing that he's shown a lot of appreciation towards the series and making sure everything's there, and not like saying like, "Hey, we're gonna give you the base game, but if you want to play these modes that used to exist previously or something, then give us another $20 or whatever." That's great to see that this is all one giant package and one massive collectathon, just like the Smash Brothers games have become, and everything is all there to begin with, and then it's like a full on package, and you don't have to worry about nickel and diming for any extra features or returning features. And I think it should be, as long as the global test goes pretty well and I get online and enjoy it, I probably will be securing a copy this holiday season.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. I was already excited. I did not play the first game. I had it. I remember it coming out. But it was one of those that I just never wound up playing. So in this time I was like, all right, cool. Let me uh let me mess around with it and I'm excited. I might do the demo. The hat thing kind of annoys me. Uh, it does. It's so silly, but it does. It's like, oh man, really? You got to do that. So let's move on. This next story got a little crazier just now, as in like less than a minute ago. Just so you see, Greg, I put a new link on our chat. Well, we're gonna do the first one first. But Nintendo has done their second quarter report that ends in September 30th, 2025. And boy, boy, is this an absolute doozy. So we can start with the Wario tweet. That way it's nice and quick and get it over with. So just an update on sales. The Switch 2 has sold 10.36 million units as of September 30th, 20.62 million software units sold thus far, with Mario Kart World selling 9.57 million and Donkey Kong Bonanza selling 3.49 million units. Compared, if you will, the Switch now is sitting at 154.01. I believe the Nintendo DS is 154.02. So Switch is past it. I have to imagine at this point because this was September 30th and it's now November 4th. So we're talking a month. I'm sure they did that point oh, well, 1 more million units, but officially the numbers say Switch is still third. Software total for the Switch is at wow, 1,452.79 million units. It's over a billion, 1.5 billion units of games. That is insane. For comparison, the Wii U had 13.56 million units lifetime with 103.6 million units of software, and the 3DS had 75.94 million units hardware with 392.29 million units of software. Let's just talk about these numbers here, Greg. What do you think?
Definitely very massive upgrade. I mean, I understand like with like the Wii U and 3DS were kind of Um, somewhat unsuccessful. They both had very rough starts where the Wii U never even got picked up. It was basically just kind of stayed very stagnant over the entire 6 or 7 years or whatever that it was out, where the 3DS had a very troubling launch where they had to cut the price by like a third or whatever, and then with the ambassador program, and then finally they kind of rightened the ship within the year, and then it obviously did sell pretty well towards, especially as it progressed, but it definitely had a very scary start. But it didn't obviously get anywhere close to the DS. But in terms of the Switch One, it's like we're right there with the PS2. I think it wasn't it like around 155 million or something
The
like that.
PS2 was 155 until Sony miraculously found 5 more million units sold, so it's like 160 now.
Yeah, and then I'm sure as soon as that hits that point, then they're like, "Oh, we found another 5 million." It was actually 165. Yeah, I
Yep.
know that how that goes. They have to keep their first place system, but definitely the Switch had a very awesome life, and it's very great to see with the software for Switch too, like the Switch as well. I mean, not trying to say Switch 2, because I know a lot of Nintendo systems, it's especially like the Wii, it was just like, oh, we're just getting Wii Sports, that's it, or maybe Wii Sports and I don't know, maybe Mario Kart Wii or New Super Mario Brothers Wii. It was very low attach rate where it was like people only had like a handful of games, and that was the main staple for that point in time. So it's really great to see that the software sales have really definitely exploded on Switch because there's definitely tons of great games you've heard discussed over the last several years of this podcast. So in terms of the Switch 2 stuff, it's great to also kind of see that the software's also kind of somewhat keeping up where it's like almost people just have 2 games for every system sold, but, so obviously it's a first year kind of thing, and I understand there's a lot of stuff going on with, like, the pricing of both the games and also with the key card situation, so it might also be why it's kinda somewhat slimmer on the software side, at least for Switch 2, but, we still have hopefully some very healthy years in front of us where more games and stuff will be released, and hopefully that number will be continue to grow along with the that usually helps grow the hardware sales as well too. But that's obviously a great launch for just 6 months there for the hardware sales, and I guess hopefully it kind of keeps up as time moves on.
Yeah, no, it's incredible to see these numbers. I do think the Switch is going to become the number one selling console of all time. I do not see the Switch 2 outselling the Switch. I just don't.
I
I
don't either.
think I think it's going to be like the DS and the 3DS. Like the DS was 155 and the 3DS was 75. Like it's half. I'm not going to say the Switch 2 is going to sell half the Switch. It might sell more than half, but I think the Switch hit at such a good time. It was such a unique thing. Um, and the backwards compatibility helps the Switch too. But I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of people, especially if the Switch stays on the market longer, which there's no reason for it not to, right? PS4 and Xbox Ones are still getting games. Like there's no reason the Switch is not going to be on the market. And a lot of people will pick it up for like their kids. Like, oh, their first system, get a Switch. You know, it's there's plenty of games to play on and enjoy it. They don't need the power of a Switch 2. There's plenty they could do on the Switch 1 and just be fine. Secondary systems, the Switch 2 has like game share where you can actually game share to a Switch 1, and play multiplayer, people might pick up an extra one for that. So I think Switch is going to be slower at this point in sales, but I don't think the Switch is going to sell too little. That it's not going to make that 160. I think it's going to be number one. And Switch 2 has the largest, the fastest launch of any console. And I know some people will say, well, I went into my local Best Buy and they still had Switch 2s on sale. That's because Nintendo had stocked up on Switch 2s in preparation so that people could get them. Because if you remember the Switch 1, the PS5, the PS4, the 3DS, well, not 3DS didn't account, but the DS definitely did, where when they launched, you could not get them. The Wii, of course, you couldn't get them for a long time because there was such demand. And Nintendo actually created supply to meet that demand and exceed that. And that's a good thing. So that's not a sign of it not selling well. That's a sign of them actually making sure that everybody who wants one can get one. And that is a very, very, very good thing. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that, but there's more. There's actually two reports. So the first one is titled Financial Reports Explanatory Material, second quarter of the fiscal year ending March 2026. This was published November 4th as of today. So this just came out today. It was this morning. So just there's a lot to this, and we're not going to go through it all. Um, it talks about like the financial highlights and sales and profit, which Nintendo is absolutely profiting. Their net profit for the fiscal year quarter one was 108.6 billion yen, uh, which is really good. But one of the things I really wanted to point out to on this page in this document, which is honestly the least interesting document compared to the next one that just happened as we're doing this podcast, is on page 9, which is the forecast. So Nintendo puts out for all these companies put out like sales forecasts, and they put out a forecast for the Switch and the Switch 2 for the fiscal year. So the fiscal year ends March 30th, first, March 30th, what the end of March. Uh and what they predicted for the Switch 2 was 15 million units in hardware. They've modified it to 19 million units as of now. Software they expected 45 million units. They've modified it to 48 million units. So that's a 26.7% up or increase on hardware, a 6.7% increase on software. For the Nintendo Switch 1, they expect 4.5 million units. That has actually been downgraded to 4 million units, negative 11.1%. The Switch software, they expected 105 million units, and it's up to 125 million units, up 19%. So I'm curious for your thoughts on this, Greg. This is really good news. Obviously, Switch One, they don't expect to sell as many, but that's okay because they're losing zero point 0.5 million units of Switch One, and they're expecting an extra 4 million on Switch 2, which well more than makes up for the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of makes sense. So, I mean, I know on previous podcasts we covered like the Switch One also kind of increasing in price. So I think that also kind of much lowered the modified forecast there because whenever you increase the price, you are probably going to get even less demand. So somebody that was on the fence on the original Switch all the way up through this year, and then suddenly all of a sudden it's more expensive instead of most people expect the price to go down, but obviously with the other economic conditions around the world, the price actually unfortunately went up. You obviously would get less sales. So, and then pretty much with it kind of closing the gap between the Switch 1 and Switch 2 price, it almost makes more sense if you are going to be getting a gaming device, and especially one that's fully backward compatible with the Switch 1 library, it would be like, well, okay, let's just get the Switch 2, and then therefore you're modified that result there to account for all the extra sales and stuff that you'll be getting there as opposed to on the original console. So I think for both consoles that makes perfect sense. And in terms of like the software, I think it makes sense with also with the Switch 1 thing. A lot of games are getting the Switch 2 editions, and I understand a lot of people like their games fully on cart as well. And with the Switch 2 kind of more going more key card for Switch 2 version, I think more people are more inclined to get the Switch 1 full on cart and then get the little bonus, like the upgrade pack for whatever $5, $10 or whatever the game might be. Some of them could even be free and or even get like other DLC for like some of the other Nintendo ones. But so that kind of makes sense there, where the Switch One like game sales would be more increased because more people are looking at that full game on cart. So unfortunately, that's the an issue with the Switch 2 in general that we've discussed in ad nauseum previously. But I think based on all these reports, it kind of fits into what we've been talking about.
Yeah, and one of the things I know a lot of people like that they've seen too in terms of even software sales has been like digital sales have been increased on the Switch too, even faster than the Switch One. And I think that's exactly what you said, the game key cards. Like I did it myself. For example, I mentioned earlier that I played Dragon Quest One and Two. I did play it. Did I bought it digitally on the Switch too, because the physical is a game key card. Now, I also bought it physically on the Switch, but Square, for whatever stupid reason, makes a lot of their games incompatible. And Sega does this too, where there's a Switch 1 version and a Switch 2 version, there's no upgrade path. So if I wanted to play the Switch 2 version of the game, which if I have a Switch 2, I want to play the better version, my choice was either a game key card or the digital. At that point, I'd rather buy the digital over the game key card to support that. So I think a lot of people are doing that and I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the people who are buying them are only going to buy the games they really want to play, as opposed to that impulse buy that you get with a physical. You're not going to get that with the digital. You're not going to say, oh, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just buy this at full price. You'll get that impulse on a sale. But opposed to like you go into the store, it'd be like, oh, buy two, get one. Let me grab something. Or, oh, this box looks cool. Let me grab it. You're not going to get that. And I think the Switch 2 is going to suffer for that. If that doesn't turn around, I think I think that's going to hurt, unfortunately. But the rest of this, it's definitely something that if you're interested in the finances and the money, it's 20 pages. There's a lot of stuff talking about the fiscals and the different countries. But that was the main thing I did want to talk about. But then I sent over a second one, Greg. I don't know if you saw. It's called the second quarter financial results and corporate management policy briefing for fiscal year ending March 2026. And this one I think is way more exciting. This one is 61 pages. Like this is huge. And I just want to let's see, I just want to scroll through and just a lot of it's repeats like they're talking about the hardware thus far 10.36 million units on the Switch 2. Um the forecast. A lot of this is actually brought over on this one. But then they start going into the video game stuff. And that's really where it's cool. So starting on page like 8, talking about the Switch 2, they say the new standard for Nintendo Switch moving forward, software development will be centered around the Switch 2. I think we all figured that was going to happen, but it's kind of cool to have Nintendo like actually talk about it. It's designed to be the new standard for Nintendo Switch concept, maintaining the experience of being able to play anytime, anywhere with anyone. Talking about things like game chat, integrated map feature like in Mario Kart World, and the ability to smash anything Donkey Kong Bonanza. These are new gameplay experiences that you couldn't do on the Switch One. Um, let's see. Mario Kart World on page 10, talking about Mario Kart World, roughly 9 out of every 10 people who purchased Nintendo Switch 2 have played Mario Kart World. That's usually what happens when you pack it in and you make it cheaper to buy it that way. As for new installments of the Mario Kart series, there's approximately 8 years. It takes full advantage of the power of the Switch 2, which we know, just as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe became the most played title on the Switch, we aim for Mario Kart World to become an evergreen title for Switch 2 that players will continue to choose for years to come. Does that line mean DLC is on the way? Like, because I feel like Mario Kart World doesn't have enough content in it as is to become that evergreen content for years to come. Let's stop here for a sec. Greg, what do you think?
At least for in terms of Mario Kart, I mean, at least a lot of the reports indicate that it's kind of missing the mark on a lot of it. People really wanted to play standard races, 3 laps on the course, and instead they're forced to play the straightaways, absolute craziness highway courses and not like the actual races. So that's something that they certainly need to get sorted out if they expect this to be an evergreen title. Because from my understanding, the online mode is kind of much like slower and harder to find active races because people want to actually play on the actual new levels. They don't want to play on these somewhat like generic, like straightaway type courses with minimal turns, and it's just basically the best items win, and the most crazy stuff goes down. A lot of people have always frowned upon that in Mario Kart Online to begin with, where it's like, oh, this guy got the blue shell and I lost the race, and like that's very popular meme with all the other online versions of Mario Kart, and not being able to have like a full-on regular track and just using like the little scenes have been kind of a detractor there. So, yeah, I mean, and as you said, it doesn't surprise me either that 9 out of 10 would have bought the bundle. I mean, that's you've seen like all the sales reports for like Wii Sports or new Super or like Super Mario Brothers. Like those are like, some of the highest selling games on whatever the NES or Wii or whatever because it was bundled in. Like yeah, when you put
Yeah.
in a bundled game, people want the actual thing to not have to would rather buy a reduced price version with a game
Yeah.
to have something to play on their brand new system that they're bringing home. They don't want to be
Well,
like,
well, especially when you save $30, right? Because it's $50 for Mario Kart World in the bundle and 80 if you buy it outside the bundle.
yep.
So
So
it makes sense.
yep, I mean, yeah, I mean, if they would have just made it $80 more expensive, I'm sure the bundle wouldn't have even sold nearly as well. So, and that number would be much lower, and it would just be like the Mario Kart fans that were heavily supporting just that if it was a full price Mario Kart bundle just with the download code inside. So,
Yep.
yeah, that also doesn't really surprise me there. And yeah, and also with the in terms of development thing, I mean, this has been going down basically ever since the NES. I mean, when they release the new system, they're not actively looking at the previous hardware and releasing tons and tons of games. It's either third parties kind of either keeping it alive, as we saw with the Wii with like Just Dance and stuff, and other things like that. I mean, I understand this was kind of also kind of they had a lot of Flux games like Metroid Prime 4 and other things like that, where it was kind of made sense where they kind of had to continue the Switch like library kind of moving onwards because there were still some promises made and stuff that was probably too far along in development to easily just fully switch over without angering a lot of their fans and players and everything by just saying, hey, instead of releasing on Switch, now you have to get it on Switch too. Instead, it's like, hey, we'll at least make an upgrade pass for those that want to have the higher res versions and better visuals and everything like that, but we recognize that there's still people that want to play it on their Switch or haven't gotten the Switch 2 yet. So we've seen a lot more of that this release just because a lot of those games got pushed back and had delays or previously promised for the previous system. So it kind of makes sense that the focus now will be just okay, after these games are done, let's everything is just gonna be Switch 2.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like I said, the Switch isn't going away. They're still going to be supporting the Switch. Third parties are definitely going to be supporting the Switch, but Nintendo pretty much is like, look, for the most part, don't expect Switch 1 and Switch 2. Yes, we've seen it this year with like Pokemon Legends ZA, and we're going to see it with Metroid Prime 4. But those titles were announced as Switch titles. So they're keeping their promises to the people who may have bought a Switch for them. You're getting them. But going forward, I think you're going to see more Switch 2 editions of Switch 1 games and exclusive games for Switch 2. Moving on, talking about exclusive, going down the next page, we've got Donkey Kong Bonanza, leveraging hardware power or processing power to deliver new gameplay experiences, met with great enthusiasm and support for players. It sold through 2.6 million units in its first 12 weeks, definitely doing well. Then they go on to talk about upcoming first party Nintendo Switch 2 titles. So you got Hyrule Warriors launching in 2 days. That's a brand new game. Kirby Air Riders that we just talked about on November 20th, and Metroid Prime 4 Echoes on December 4th, which is also going to the Switch 1. Then you got the Animal Crossing Switch 2 edition, January 15th. Mario Tennis Fever on February 12th, Super Mario Wonder, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition with Meet Up at Bella Bell Park on spring or in spring, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book in spring, Pokemon Pokepedia sometime next year, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave sometime next year, and Splatoon Raiders, which was just randomly announced a while back, and we don't really know much about it, is coming to be announced. Interesting note how it's like Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment will be licensed to be released and sold as a Nintendo product outside of Japan. Meaning in Japan, is it not sold as a Nintendo product? Is it sold as a Koei Tecmo product because they're making it? And Pokemon Pokepedia will be published by the Pokemon Company in Japan. So outside of Japan, Nintendo's publishing it, but in Japan, the Pokemon Company themselves will do it, which is pretty interesting. Switch 2 titles highlighted from other software publishers. Just talking about a bunch of games. Some of these absolutely have full games on cart. Cyberpunk is there. Story of Seasons is there. But then you got, Resident Evil's there, Elden Ring, Hades 2. Hades 2 is actually on cart, so give props to that. Dragon Quest 7 remake is shown off. Silk Song, of course, is shown off. Madden. It's great to see some of these titles. I just wish there were more physicals. Monster Hunter Stories 3 is also there. But then, if you're really interesting thing on page 14, transitioning to Nintendo Switch 2, 84% of Switch 2 players have transitioned from the Switch. That makes sense, but think about that. There's 16% that just they never had a Switch. They're completely brand new players, and that's cool. I know a few of those people actually that just skip the Switch and they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna get a Switch too." But that's a pretty big percentage at the start because usually when a system launches, like the hardcore buy it right away, and then the later adapters are like, "Oh, I'll get it down the road." But at the first couple months, 16% of them are brand new players. Not only early adapters, but consumers who started playing Switch at various points of its lifetime have also transitioned to the Switch too. And this is interesting, this breakdown of Switch adaptation. So a good chunk of them started back on launch year like we did in 2017, a lot on 2018 and 19, a lot on 2020, probably thanks to Animal Crossing. And then a little less for 2021, 22, and obviously 23, 24. And there's some people that bought a Switch in 2025 and then bought a Switch 2 in 2025. So, hats off to those people that just that just decided to buy a Switch on this year and decided I'm going to upgrade as well in the same year. I think that's pretty interesting breakdown. Greg, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it makes most sense that it would be pretty much the day one fans that had bought it, but that's where I also don't know if like where my transition comes in, because yes, I did have the original Switch for a while, but then I did upgrade to the OLED. So does that say that I'm like a 2022 user that migrated over, or does it actually still count as 2017? So it's like well, which one would that be? So I don't know. It depends on how where they rank this. I mean, I understand families have multiple consoles and all of that too, or maybe there is a way to tell that these are just brand new players just to begin with, and just fired them up with like brand new, like the newest versions of the system with like serial numbers. I don't know. We don't really have any of that. They don't really provide details on some of that. But as you said, that's very interesting to see how thick that block is for people that bought a Switch earlier this year, and then it was like, oh yeah, let's get the Switch 2 now. So it's like definitely hats off to that. And it's like, did you guys miss the Nintendo Direct in April and the tease in January that this was coming and could have saved yourself a little bit of money, or did you really need the proof of concept first and then like, oh yeah, this is actually a really awesome system. Now, okay, let's just get the new one because it's basically the same thing, just better. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's kind of hard to know for sure
I
how all
I'd
that breaks
love
down.
to I'd love to know. So if you're listening to this or watching this and you are one of the people that bought a Switch for the first time in 2025, you're part of that block and then bought a Switch too. I would love to hear from you. I'd love put a comment. You know what? Put a comment down below and maybe we could have you as a guest to talk about those experiences because I think that's really interesting. I'd love to know more of your story because that surprised me to see that much from 2025. But yeah, moving on, just the last section of this. We're not going to go through all the pages, but this is kind of interesting. Going down, the Switch 2 is the fastest selling Nintendo hardware to date. Multiple hit titles have emerged early in the life cycle, most extensive third party launch lineup of any Nintendo platform, and a smooth transition they call from Nintendo Switch users. I could agree with that, which rapidly establishes a foundation for the Nintendo Switch 2 business. Going full in on the Switch 2, would love to see the support. Next page, they're now talking about the Switch. So they're like, "Hey, well, we haven't forgotten you. If you haven't updated yet, compelling Nintendo Switch titles continue to be released, you know, October onwards. So yeah, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, which is already out, the dual pack, Pokemon Legends ZA, again, as I mentioned, it's Switch and Switch 2, but it was a Switch title originally. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is still getting a Switch release. Pokemon Champions, which is also getting a Switch 2 release, it's Switch and Switch 2, but we don't know when that's coming. And then the two random Tamagotchi Life Live in the Dream and Rhythm Heaven Groove, which were both announced for next year, both announced for the Switch, not the Switch 2. They're still going there. Many Nintendo Switch titles are being played on the Switch 2, however. So many of these titles people are finding they're putting them and playing them on the Switch 2. So there is a demand still, and we hope people continue to enjoy. And then the last page I want to talk about tonight is page 17. Supply of Nintendo Switch hardware will continue if enough demand persists. While our business focus will shift to the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch has maintained a steady sales pace even after the June launch of the successor. While taking consumer demand and the business environment into consideration, we will continue sales of Nintendo Switch hardware. So we talked about how the Switch is going to keep going. I think it's going to keep going for quite a bit longer, especially with so many games still coming out for the Switch 1. What do you think? What do you think about this? And what do you also think, like their demand? Like, how much demand do they need to see for them to keep going? Because remember, they're still manufacturing three lines of Switch: the original, the OLED, and the Lite. None of them have actually dropped off for the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is just a fourth additional version. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously kind of great to see, and that there's still plenty of demand for it, and maybe that fits in line with the people you want to comment on the video saying like, "Hey, we bought the Switch Lite and now we bought the Switch 2." So it's like it could be something that's kind of tied with that, and then like, "Hey, I really like the Switch Lite a lot," and told their friends, and maybe they're like, "Hey, let's go get Switch Lites," and then maybe we'll get the Switch 2 further down the road once more exclusive games come out, et cetera, or what have you. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense that they need to kind of continue it if they want to still kind of push some sales and hit targets. But I mean, as I said before, they did increase the prices of it, so I think that kind of hurt their um, willingness to try to continue this on for like a super long period of time. But it is definitely very welcoming to see that it's even after 6 months later, they're still actually actively saying that they're still producing consoles to make sure that they don't run out of on like store shelves and everything. So that's still great to see that they are continuing production because oftentimes it's like, hey, the Wii U launched. Okay, the Wii is fully dead. We're not producing that basically on like the day that the system goes live. It's usually well before that actually, because it's like there's so many just still sitting on the shelves, and all the production just shifts to the new system. So um, it is kind of great to see that the Switch still is enjoying its pretty good life that it's had, and there's lots of great games to play on it for anyone that still hasn't had one yet and wants to be part of that 2025 or even 2026 crowd to pick it up. So there's still probably some steam in there. There's lots of great games to be enjoyed on there for anyone that still hasn't played through a number of them yet. So let's hope that it can finally pass that PlayStation 2 and DS and be championed at number one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the demand there's going to be enough demand for a while. And the reason I say that is because so many games are still coming to the Switch instead of the Switch 2 because Nintendo is like limiting, like games coming out there. There's been reports of like Nintendo limiting what games go to the Switch 2, and they really want the Switch 2 games to take advantage of the Switch 2. And there's plenty of games that don't need the power of the Switch 2. Like the entire Switch lifetime proved that the Switch was powerful enough to run a lot of great games, and especially indie games, and even third-party games. You don't need the full power of the Switch 2, or even the power of the PS5 Pro or Series X. We're really at that point of diminishing returns, right? Yeah, you have to really look to see a difference between a PS5 and a PS5 Pro, for example. Like, is it better? Yeah. Or is the majority of people going to see or notice it? No. It's like when you go to the store and you buy a TV and you see a wall of TV. And what you're doing is you're comparing them all. Like, oh, this one versus this one's a little lighter, this one's a little darker, this one's a little more colorful, this one's a little more drab. This one, what doesn't matter? It doesn't matter which TV you buy, because at the end of the day, whatever TV you buy, you go home, you put it up on your wall, or you put it on your stand or whatever, you turn it on. That's what you're watching. You have nothing to compare it to. So it looks great to you because that's what you bought and you're watching. You're not, well, you know what? That one is a little sharper. It doesn't matter. You're now in this bubble of that TV. And it's the same with consoles. If you're playing a game on the Switch too, it might be slightly less graphical than a PS5 and maybe slightly less graphical than the PS5 Pro. But if you're only playing that one game and you're not looking at them side by side, you're just enjoying the moment. So there's so many games that can be played on the Switch just fine. And a lot of those games will either naturally play better on the Switch too, have some kind of free update, or some devs I saw like Overcooked 2 just announced like there's a $10 upgrade to get the Switch 2 version that was shown off in the last direct. It was one of those the games that was getting a Switch 2 version. And you just pay $10 if you really want to have the Switch 2 version. So you're kind of getting two games in one, which is really cool. So I think the Switch has plenty of legs left. But yeah, if you want these are all public. These things are 61 pages. Like I said, there's a ton more stuff going through more of the finances and more of the behind the scenes stuff. So if you're really interested in anything more, please look these up and check them out yourself. These are from Nintendo. But we're not going to sit here and go through the whole thing. But I see Greg's like scrolling them on the
No.
screen now. You can see they talk about how like the Nintendo difference, what makes it so good, what they're focused on with their IPs and stuff. Like it's really interesting. So if you love like Nintendo stuff and you love the business side of things, I urge you to read these reports. Like it's really enlightening to see the philosophy going on behind the scenes at Nintendo. So we do have one more thing. I was going to touch on this really quickly because we've already gone longer than I think either of us expected, and this report definitely opened up conversations. In fact, I kind of wish Steve was here to go over these reports. I think he would have some cool insights too. But there is a tweet that found online that just had some interesting stuff I just want to touch on, and just curious your thoughts on this, Greg. So this comes from a person named Christopher Anjos on Twitter. So Greg, we'll get. Do you have that up so we can put it up on screen?
I can. Can you like send me a DM of the thing really quick, or is it in the
Yeah,
sheet?
it's on the sheet, but I'll send it to you really quickly
Okay.
on. Boom, it's
Another.
sent to you. So this post just it happened a couple weeks ago. I saw this and thought this was interesting. So I'm going to read just part of it and just a little discussion on it. Over 5,000 games released on Steam this year didn't make enough money to recover the $100 fee to put a game on Valve's store. It's true that Steam's openness has transformed game development. Anyone can now publish a game with a $100 fee. That accessibility has fueled creativity and diversity, but has also created a sea of obscurity. The new reality is that most games don't just fail to break out, they fail to even break even. As of October 2025, nearly 12,700 games have launched on Steam this year, Around 8,300 of them earned less than 1,000 in revenue. More than 5,000 didn't even recover the $100 listing fee. That's roughly 47% sold under 100 copies. Only 8% managed to gross over $100,000, and the bottom 30% averaged just $37 in revenue. So I just want to touch on that quickly, Greg. What are your thoughts?
That's kind of alarming to see because whenever I hear people talk about Steam, they're like, "Oh, look at all these great games. There's so many of them, and I have so many to play, and I've bought so many, and I haven't even opened up all of these." But to hear that so many like developers are not barely even getting their costs back is kind of alarming because that kind of says, hey, well, people either one don't like my game or two, I didn't couldn't breach through the other 10,000 games that are available also available to play right now. And like that's kind of like a sad spot for a developer because Steam makes it seem like you should be able to easily uh, enjoy and make like some good profits based on the number of players there. I mean, I don't know if that's because maybe some of the games are too cheap or a lot of people are getting them from bundles where they're only whatever 20, 30 cents or 50 cents or a dollar or whatever, something that's ridiculously cheap. And then obviously if you don't even make the $100 back from listing it, that's also very concerning that you spent all this time and effort on this passion project of yours and it didn't even make up the cost to list the game on the platform. So um, I don't know if that's more of a quality thing or if it's really just like a too many games kind of thing, because it's kind of hard to know for sure where this is kind of going there. So yeah, that not really good to see based on the number of people that really tout Steam as like the best kind of platform and like with the Steam Deck being available as like a pseudo Switch and being able to play these games on the go as well too, and then not really having the sales numbers to kind of back up as we just covered like the number of sales for different Nintendo platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I think this industry has this issue with all these titles, right? I mean, we saw this back in the Atari days where that issue was there was no quality control. Now we have some quality control, but the problem is that there's so many developers and they're all making games. And I'm not saying they're not good because there's a ton of great games. In fact, this problem is there's too many great games. Like I wish I had the time to play them all, and I get it because I know a lot of people who do like the Steam summer sales or the Christmas sales or whatever. They buy a ton of games, and they buy them really cheap. I have a developer friend who put out a game for $15, and I said, "Oh, how's the game doing?" He's, not that great. We expect to sell most copies at $3." I'm like, "Wait, that's a big jump. Like from you're selling at 15, but you expect to sell only for $3." And I said, "Yeah, people don't buy full price games unless they're big names. They just usually don't buy the full, and we need to only get them on sale." And I think the issue is just too many things. And I'm not trying to discourage developers from making their dream game. I encourage them to do so. But the problem is just not enough time. I myself included, I talk about how I just did Dragon Quest One. I don't have time to do Dragon Quest Two before Hyrule Warriors comes out. And these are totally first world problems. But here I am playing the bigger games, and I also play the smaller games, like I mentioned a bunch at the beginning of this podcast, that I do for reviews, uh, for Nintendo Fuse. And it's like, how do I fit these in? Like, and that's just a small, minute number of titles that came out. Like, if we took this day right now, November 4th, no more games coming out. All games ceased. This is it. There's no more new games coming out. Everybody listening, everybody watching, everybody that is alive right now on this planet will die before they play every game that's out. The majority of people will die before they play every game they want to that already exists because there's so many games. And I know that sounds kind of alarming or dark, but it's true. there's so many games. And if a game was like a 5 minute game or a 10 minute game, or sure you could play a bunch of them. But if you play a game that's 100 hours, that's one game. Like that eats a lot of time. And real life happens. So if you lived in a bubble, you could not beat them all. You could
Yeah.
probably play them all, but you couldn't beat them all.
And that also kind of relates into even my personal issue. I'm stuck on these Roblox games, and these are games that are meant to be played every day because they want you to like, here's a little login bonus, here's where you do
Yep.
this, and here's
Yep.
this limited time event. You don't want to miss this content, and then you get suckered into being like one of the pretty much how everyone rags on the Call of Duty games, just not really doing anything, and then it's basically the same game, just we're just reselling it with a new number at the end of it. Like it's not a lot really necessarily changes. They obviously do some adjustments and do add new skins and new characters and all this other stuff, but I mean, it's essentially a lot of it is just the same game, just a
Yep.
different coat of paint on it. And that's when people find those series and stuff that they like, or even like ongoing games, that takes away time from experiencing all these other games that are out there.
Exactly.
So it depends on the kind of player you are. If you're somebody that likes to just kind of grift from game to game and just like it's fine just putting in whatever an hour or two here just to kind of say you've played it and somewhat enjoy it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And then there's the
Nope.
people that saying I want to get every single element in this game, and like I'm not touching another game until everything is gotten, and then that's where it's 100 hours, 1,000 hours.
Yep.
Like you could easily have that climb, especially if it's one of these ongoing games that just gets new content every week or every other week or every month or whatever the case may be. So it's really
There's so
hard to
many.
play all these different games if there's lots of great other ongoing games that are already established and series and stuff that people already are familiar with and understand and like to play.
Yep.
It's,
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I
I
mean, I
think that's,
play
yeah.
I play Pokemon Unite and I play Asphalt Legends Unite and I play Final Fantasy 14, which are all ongoing games with daily stuff and there's always new events happening and new stuff. And that's a small drop in the bucket compared to how many MMOs are out there or how many live service games or how many games have log. Oh, I have Pokemon Unite and not Pokemon TCG Pocket, Mario Kart World or Tour. I mean, they all have incentives to play every day, and I do, and it's just how much time. And a lot of those games are quick, like Mario Kart Tour, you can just race and you're good a day. Pokemon TCG Pocket, you can open up 2 packs, 3 packs a day, whatever, and that's it. So they're not terribly time consuming, but there's a lot of that stuff that is, and that's just touching the tip of the iceberg. Then you have examples like again, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remake. They're remakes. They're older games. They're games, I've enjoyed before in the past that I'm revisiting. So now I'm spending that time replaying, even though it's a new version, but replaying a game I've already played, or games in this case that I've already played, instead of experiencing one of these other games, brand new games. And it's just there's so much. So it's an endless cycle. And I don't mean to be depressing. I want everybody to enjoy the games they like and play what they like. And if you want to create your game, I don't want something like this to actually discourage. This is just a discussion point. You should make your game, you should put out your dream, and hopefully it succeeds and promote it and just don't let be discouraged. Just keep doing what you love. And things change. There's always a little disproportionate with numbers and stuff, but it's just for a discussion topic, and it's a discussion that people need to have and ask why and what can you do and what could gamers do. But again, there's time. I think we should need to make a national law like every person needs to spend like 3 to 4 hours. They get game time. Like their employees pay your employers pay them to play games or something during the workday. Like 4 hours of work and 4 hours of game every day. Like let's make that a thing. That'd be fun.
Well, maybe that's what they're trying to get to with the 32-hour work week that they're trying
Oh
to push,
God,
just so then you have that
that
so then you have that 8 hours a
eight
week
hours.
to play some games. And just
Heck
have that
yeah.
calming down moments and stuff to have that
Let's
life
do it.
back.
Let's do it. I say let's go for it. All right. Well, this episode's been dragging on long enough. If you're still with us, thank you. We really appreciate you hanging around. And we just want to remind you once again to follow us on social media, Nintendo Fuse, uh, every social media platform. Join our Discord. Again, the information will be in the YouTube description in the show notes. Go to nintendofuse.com. You could even send us questions if you want, podcast at nintendofuse.com. So again, reach out if you're one of those people that bought a Switch for the first time in 2025 and bought a Switch 2 also in 2025. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have any, you know, thoughts about anything we've discussed tonight, we want to hear from you. Let us know. And We're going to move on to our final section now, which is upcoming games. We just had a discussion about how many games are coming out. Boy, there still are more. And Greg is going to be nice enough to be scrolling through Metacritic releases. So thank you to Metacritic for providing a really cool list. Here are some highlights that I just want to go over before I toss it to you, Greg. November 4th, that's today. Let's Sing 2026. Fun fact, my bundle came in, 2 microphones and everything. November 6th, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Boxes, Last Fragments of Blades and Tails, Strike Force Heroes, and Last Order. November 7th has the dual release of 20XX and 30XX. November 13th has Inazuma 11 Victory Road, Ulterior Ryza 1, 2, and 3, the DX versions, Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2, Hidden Cats in Rio de Janeiro. I don't know why Steve put that one there, but he did. Videoverse and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. November 17th has Indica. November 18th has Morsels, Squirrel with a Gun, SpongeBob SquarePants, Titans of the Tide, plus Plankton's Portal Challenge DLC. So those are the ones that Steve is, gracious enough to share with us. That he felt was the biggest stuff, or some of the biggest stuff. But going to you, Greg, what are you looking forward to playing within the next 2 weeks, within the next podcast?
Well, as I said at the top of the hour, the Roblox stuff should finally be on somewhat of a more of a break and lesser of major extent for my playing time. So I'll likely be trying to catch up on the game chat games to help get those finally recorded and completed there, along with trying to jump into Dragon Quest 1 and 2. I really enjoyed the Dragon Quest series in general and was really excited to see that that one came out. And I think I still need to hit the purchase button to have it fully ordered. But yeah, in terms of like Hyrule Warriors, I believe I'm putting that on my Christmas list, so that'll probably be something I more enjoy coming like this winter season. But still hoping to get a copy of that as well to be able to hopefully play it at some point this year, but likely not before our Game of the Year podcast. But we shall see how all that kind of plays out from there.
Yeah, hope you get a chance to do that and play some new games. I plan to do Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment as the big game. I'll probably do some Pokemon Legends ZA tomorrow. Do the new season to get the Delphoxite though. Depending on how long Hyrule Warriors takes, the next game, of course, is that I'm looking forward to is Kirby Air Riders, which happens after our next podcast on the 20th. So it depends on when I finish Hyrule Warriors. If I finish it with enough time, I will go back and do Dragon Quest 2. If I finish it with less time for what I feel Dragon Quest 2 is, then I'll play another game. Could be another game chat game. We've got more of those coming up. Uh, but that's my initial plan. Of course, still doing Final Fantasy 14, still doing my mobile stuff and Pokemon Unite and Asphalt. So that's all going on. Well, that brings us to the end of this podcast. Which, God, could you imagine how long this would have went if Steve was here? Uh, so
Probably at
thank
least another hour.
at least another hour. Anything going on in your life, Greg, that you just want to just talk about? One last little thing.
It wasn't really a whole lot going down. I know my daughter had spent some time in Disney World over the last week, right before leading up to Halloween, so I know she had a blast there and got to ride some of the newer rides in Disney World that I still haven't yet to even be on, like Tron and even like the Ratatouille ride. So I'm hoping to try to get us out there, but I kind of need that one job thing. So I've still been actively applying for jobs on a basically a daily basis and really still need to get that form of income secured so I can hopefully resume traveling and being able to enjoy other things outside of gaming and outside the house here. So that'll be really hopefully hopefully something can come along here sooner than later. But yeah, I don't think there's really a whole lot going up leading up to Thanksgiving and just trying to hopefully enjoy some time with the family once the Thanksgiving rolls around.
Yeah, it's gonna be here before you know it. Yeah, so for me, I'm still busy. Just did another ESRB that I finished up today. We'll be doing some submissions to Nintendo tomorrow, actually, for some releases. We've got a bunch of great games coming out with PM Studios, so definitely stay tuned. We got some announcements of titles and release dates and stuff that I can't actually share here, but just stay tuned to our socials there. Yeah, personally, I'm okay, which is very good. My son is doing well. My wife's doing well, but we've had the life issues. When it rains, it pours. Our refrigerator just broke, so we just had to have that repaired today. Thankfully, it could be repaired. It was an easy fix, but it was the choice between a $2,000 new computer refrigerator or $180 repair cost. So thankfully, it was the $180 repair cost, but it's still a pain in the butt, and a lot of things went spoiled because it was a defroster issue. But then on a little more serious note, my father was diagnosed with now dementia that has progressed worse. He's currently, as we speak, in the hospital, and he's being sent to a care facility. And for the past couple days, my wife and I have literally just been having to drop everything to go around the local care facilities that he's been approved for, and do tours and see which one would be the best for him, which is never fun. And then of course you have to deal with the finances and all this, and he doesn't even live in the same state as us. He lives in another state, so we got to deal with all his stuff in the other state and how we sell that and how do we get rid of that, and what do we do with his house, and like there's so much, and it's a nightmare. It's one of those things where I tell people, like, if you have aging parents, get everything in your name as soon as possible. Like, as soon as possible. Just do it early, you know, just and then don't screw your parents over, of course. But it's just is one of those things that's a headache. So it's fun dealing with all that stuff on top of it. So gaming has been my absolute greatest outlet right now, just of zoning out and not having to deal with anything outside my kid and my wife, which are wonderful, but sometimes, I just need to completely clear my head. But yeah, so life is precious. Enjoy it. Absolutely enjoy it. And don't take it for granted, because tomorrow is never promised. So again, I just want to say thank everybody for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Remember, please, to subscribe and share YouTube or whatever your favorite podcast service is. We appreciate reviews. Please, any reviews you want to give. And share this with anybody you think that would enjoy it and enjoys Nintendo related content. You can connect with us on all social media platforms at NintendoFuse, as well as our Discord. We apparently also have Nintendo Views merch in time for the holidays. New items, including some for babies and younger kids. You can go to nintendofuse.com, click the merch, or click the link in our show notes or YouTube descriptions. They make great holiday gifts, so show your support. We do appreciate it. Our next episode will be on November 18th. That's 2 days before Kirby. And our Game of the Year episode will be after that on December 2nd. So start thinking about what your favorite games of the year were, because we want to hear about them. We'll be announcing the category soon. And until then, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
Happy gaming, everyone. See you next time.